Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Beena Antony Reggie, Associate Professor at Aditi Mahavidyalaya, University of Delhi. We are today going to learn about community engagement and counseling in addressing social problem. The learning outcome. This module will help students understand community engagement, an explanation to counseling, counseling as a method of community engagement, different social problems in India, counseling as an intervention to social problems. Introduction. In the recent time, community engagement is becoming more and more popular. Government and non-government organizations are also giving importance to community engagement. Community engagement has been much discussed in the disciplines of sociology, political science, and community psychology. Government organizations want to involve community in the developmental process. For example, in the making of the Justice Verma Committee report in 2013, after the infamous Nirbhaya gang rape on 16th December 2012, the committee was constituted to look into the existing laws on sexual crime in India. The committee had extensive dialogue and consultation with various stakeholders. The women group, lawyers, activists, and experts from the community were consulted in preparing this government document. The engagement with the community members helped preparing an extensive and appropriate government report that looked into various issues related to sexual crime in India. Community engagement have been beneficial in understanding issues and challenges on various community problems like juvenile justice, substance abuse, unemployment, youth unrest, and illiteracy. Many universities nationally and internationally have also been involved in conducting community engagement programs and activities for outreach, partnership, and research. Universities, like other public institutions, also want to be part of the community engagement method to develop the communities. Thus, various sections of the community like school, universities, hospitals reach out and help in the community development process. Understanding community engagement. Community engagement can be understood as a deliberate and planned effort that has a purpose and involves the members of the community. The community persons are bound together and share similarities in either background, affiliation, identity, needs, issues, interests, challenges, or problems. Community engagement can be observed in a variety of activities taken up by the community persons to improve the problem or for community development. In community engagement, the individual's selfish interests are reduced to the collective interest of the community. Community engagement involves a variety of activities like consultation, dialogue, communication, awareness, education, extension, and public involvement, participation, reaching a consensus, working in partnership, and following democratic principle. This range of activities works in progression and sometimes simultaneously as there are different individuals and groups involved. There are a number of stakeholders involved like government and non-government agencies. Community engagement is an amalgamation of efforts of the community persons and other government and non-government agencies to bring in community development. Community engagement activities are: community engagement is the goal of every community. Every community must work towards community engagement. Community engagement enshrines the ethos of democracy. The ultimate goal of every community must be engaging the whole community in every community development projects, and when community is faced with a challenge. Community engagement is the goal and community engagement is the process too. The goal of community engagements can be listed as positive relationship within the community person. Community engagement gives an opportunity to the community to work together. This working together will call for building up relationship too. As the community is working on a project for the development of the community persons will work on building positive relationship. Group decisions. Community engagement will inculcate the virtue of democratic decision making in the group. Collective decision making is positive for the group. Empower individuals. Community engagement will cause the community persons to develop themselves. Community participation will make the community individuals empowered. Community engagement and counseling. Community engagement takes charge of the community problems and works for the betterment of the community. Counseling is a method to address social problems. Community engagement could practice counseling to address the community problems. Human beings can understand other human beings' pain and problems. Counseling is the process to empathize with our fellow beings. Counseling can prove to be an effective way for the community to deal with social problem. According to the American Counseling Association in 1997, counseling is the application of mental health, psychological or human development principles through cognitive, affective, behavioral or systematic intervention strategies that address wellness, personal growth or career development as well as pathology. Definition of counseling. Merle-Ollins defines counseling as counseling is an accepting, trusting and safe relationship in which client learns to discuss openly what worries and upsets them, to define precise behavior goals, to acquire the essential social skills and to develop the courage and self-confidence to implement desired new behavior. Edwin Lewis explained counseling as counseling is a process by which a troubled person, client, is helped to tell and behave in a more personally satisfying manner through interaction with an uninvolved person, counselor, who provides information and reactions which stimulate the client to develop behavior which enable him to deal more effectively with himself and his environment. Thus, counseling deals with personal development of individuals and the problems faced by the individual. The counselor builds a relationship with the client so as to intervene for the betterment of the individual and also help individuals adjust to the other social systems like family, school, workplace and community. Different settings of counseling. While dealing with social problems in the community, counseling can be through individual, family and group sessions depending on the need. Individual counseling is the counseling with the individual addressing the individual's need and concern. Individual counseling focuses on the problems faced by the individual and finding ways to solve them, to adjust or cope with those problems in the best way. In individual counseling, the relationship between the counselor and the client is most important for the success of counseling. Family counseling is the counseling with the family members to address the family problem. The counseling is carefully managing the dynamics in the family, understanding each member's perspective. Family counseling gets the family members together to understand other person's perspective and solve their problem. helping family members to adjust and cope with each other. Group counseling is counseling with a group of individuals who are facing similar kind of problems or who share similar needs and concerns. Group counseling has various advantages as the group members understand they are not the only ones having a particular problem. For example, women coming together who are victims of domestic violence. The group members also support each other, so the group members are also resources within the group. Counseling proves to support community engagement in supporting the community members in their needs and problems. Counseling in the form of peer counseling can help ease loneliness and hopelessness of depression. Support groups for depression, illness, or bereavement connect people within the community with others who are going through the same challenge. They are a safe place to share experience, advice, and encouragement. Community and social problems. Every community is faced by a number of challenges in the form of social problems. In India, some of the dominant social problems are poverty, illiteracy, unemployment, violence against women, substance abuse, abuse among children, and communal unrest. India is a vast and diverse country that has evolved through many centuries. India has the diversity in its geography, religion, race, culture, language, food, art, music, it follows. Through this plurality gives richness to our country, but sometimes this causes difference among the population. These differences could also be the cause for social problem. Community is always changing. There are changes in norms, values, customs, traditions, and laws of the community over a period of time. Sometimes these changes could also be the cause for social problem. Social problems are problems faced by the larger community, and action needs to be taken not just individually but on a larger front. Definition on social problem. In understanding social problem, we can observe these two definitions that clearly explains the concept of social problem. Walsh and Furfe in 1961 explained some problems as deviation from the social ideal remediable by group efforts. Here we see that social problem is a deviation from what community wants for them, and the solution will also come from the community persons who will bring in change. Weinberg 1960 states, social problems are behavior patterns or conditions which arise from a social processes and are considered so objectionable or undesirable but by many members of the society that they recognize that corrective policies, programs and services are necessary to cope with them. In Weinberg's definition also we observe that there is a problem and the community work towards the solution. For instance, there is a rise in the case of substance abuse. Community realizes that it is a deviation from an ideal situation. We are losing community persons to the grip of drugs and alcoholism, and the community needs to work in removing the social evil. Some of the social problems in India. Poverty. India has a large percentage of its population living in poverty. Poverty, according to Michael Harrington, 1958, is the deprivation from those minimal levels of food, health, housing, education and recreation compatible with the contemporary technology, beliefs and values of a particular society. The poor are unable to get out of the vicious circle of poverty, illiteracy, unemployment and ill health. In India, the individual in poverty suffers from malnutrition, low consumption, expenditure, low income, chronic illness or poor health, illiteracy, unemployment, underemployment, and poor housing condition. India has large disparities. On the one side, India has some of the world's richest persons, high industrial production and gross national production, and on the other side, large population lives below poverty line. The Indian economy is the sixth largest economy in the world. India stands at the third position in purchase power parity. While the country's economy is fast progressing, the poverty levels are still high. In 2012, Tendulkar Committee reported 26% of Indians falling below the international poverty line, that is the US dollar 1.25 per day. This large number is a matter of great concern for the development of the country. Government of India, since the first 5-year plan, has initiated various poverty alleviation programs to help the poor. Some of them are National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, Pradhan Mantri Gramin Awas Yojana, Annapurna, Jawahar Gram Samriddhi Yojana, National Old Age Pension Scheme, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. The Poverty Alleviation Program focus on Wage Employment Program, Food Security Program, Social Security Program, Self-Employment Program, Skill Development Program. The role of counseling in community engagement to address poverty. The community can reach out to the individuals and families living in the poverty to avail the government program. The individuals and families could be counseled by community persons to analyze their needs and problems and how they could work towards addressing their issue. For example, the community could counsel and support the elderly of the community to avail the pension under the National Old Age Pension Scheme of Government of India. Those elders who are not covered under this scheme could be helped to avail of the Annapurna scheme of receiving 100 kgs of free food grain monthly. Unemployment. The United Nations International Labour Organization (ILO) has stated that in 2017 there are 18 million persons, that are 3.4% unemployed in India. Unemployment is the situation when an individual wanting to work but fails to get a job. The individual is unable to earn a living. This affects not just the individual but also their family. The individual is unable to fulfill their role and responsibility in the family and community. Employment gives both livelihood and a status in the community. Employment also gives the individual power and confidence. Employment is a must for an individual's economic development. Unemployment adversely affects the individual's family, community, and nation at large. Unemployment will also cause youth unrest and disturb the peace of the community. Causes of unemployment. The development of the industrial and service sector has not kept pace to the population increase. India is the fast growing nation with a population of 1.2 billion people. The job opportunities is less compared to the persons seeking jobs. The educational system of our country is more theoretical and we churn out more students with humanities background than students with technical background. There is a need to increase technical institutes. There is a need for alternative employment opportunities to the agricultural workers. Agricultural sector is a seasonal work, so there is more work at sowing and harvesting time. In the other times, if there is an alternative employment, the agricultural workers will have employment all year through. The Indian cottage industry is rich and diverse, like carpet, textile, coir, gems, jewellery, leather and food processing. But the cottage industry faces competition from the industrial sector and imports. Thus, there is a decrease in persons working here. The government needs to revive and protect these industries. Some of the other factors that also affect unemployment are agricultural sector affected by climate change, unstable market, government policies and defective economic planning. The role of counselling in community engagement to address unemployment. The community can come together in identifying individuals who are unemployed and underemployed. Counsellors can work with these individuals to identify where the problem lies. Doing SWOT analysis with the individuals will help. Counsellors could provide career counselling to children, youth and adults so that they are able to be guided to work towards the right employment. Counsellors could network with industries, corporate houses and businesses offering jobs and individuals seeking jobs. Illiteracy. Illiteracy is the biggest obstacle in the path of development in any nation. India has been suffering since independence due to the menace of illiteracy. How can the country economically, socially, politically develop if large populations do not know how to read or write? They are still in the darkness and are a burden to the development of the country. According to the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, literacy is the ability to identify, understand, interpret, create, communicate and compute using printed and written material associated with varying context. Literacy involves a quantum of learning in enabling individuals to achieve their goal, to develop their knowledge and potential, and to participate fully in their community and wider society. UNESCO has positioned India as the largest population with illiterate adults. 287 millions, that is 37% of the total globe. India's literacy has increased 6 times since independence, from 12% to 74% in 2011, but we still have to work further. Reasons for illiteracy in India. India is unable to break away from the vicious circle of poverty and illiteracy. Illiteracy in India is complex and related to many socio-economic and cultural factors. One of the main reasons for illiteracy is the different forms of disparities in our country. There are differences due to gender, caste and region. The literacy rates as per 2011 census shows the striking imbalance. Literacy rates stood at 82.14% for men and 65.46% for women. This low female literacy also causes the dependency of women on man for all activities that needs them to read and write. The higher caste and the economically better off and in the more developed parts of the country have better educational facilities. The poor, due to illiteracy and lack of knowledge and skill, are only able to do unskilled labor. They are not able to reach out to better educational facilities to ameliorate themselves. There are disparities in region too. There are some states in India that understand the importance of education and focus more on this fundamental requirement of development. For example, Kerala spends more on education, encouraging the citizens to access education. Thus, it has the highest literacy rates in the country. The most important reason for illiteracy is inadequate school facilities. The teachers in the school are inefficient due to them being understaffed and sometimes underqualified. High levels of school dropouts among the children is due to the lack of facilities like proper sanitation, drinking water facilities, shortage of teachers, and an overall unfavorable learning environment in the school. The government initiatives to eradicate illiteracy. The government has made many changes to eradicate illiteracy and improve the education system in the country. These efforts have brought in some changes, but we have a long way to go. Some of the initiatives are: the right to education was incorporated in the Constitution under 83 Amendment 2000. This provides free and compulsory education for children up to the 14 years of age. The National Policy of Education in the year 1986 declared that the whole nation must commit itself to drive away the menace of illiteracy, especially among the young population. The National Literacy Mission in 1988 made literacy a community endeavor. It aimed to attain a literacy rate of 41% by 2035. The Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan was launched in 2001 to ensure that all children in the age group of 6 to 14 years should attend school and complete 8 years of schooling by 2010. An important component of the scheme is the Education Guarantee Scheme, an alternative and innovative education meant primarily for children in areas with no formal school within 1 kilometer radius. Midday meal scheme launched in 1995 to be served in the schools to improve nutritional status of the school-aged children nationwide. Community engagement in removing illiteracy. The government initiatives have not reached their targets. The literacy rates have not improved, and school dropouts are still high. The government alone cannot reach out to the large populations of our country, but every literate person needs to accept the eradication of illiteracy as a personal goal. Each and every contribution by the literate person can make a contribution to eradicate the menace. One of the initiatives is Teach India, whose aim is to provide a platform to educated Indians to provide assistance in basic education to the underprivileged children. Community engagements of these kinds are necessary to remove the illiteracy social problem. Counseling children and parents by community leaders and community persons can encourage the children to go to school. Violence against women. India is largely a patriarchal society where the importance is given to the man in the society. Though there has been changes in the society over the years in recognizing the contribution of women to families and the society, but there is rampant violence against women. National Crime Record Bureau reports in 2016 that in the last decade, there has been 2.24 million crime against women in India. That is 26 crime reported every hour and 1 complaint every minute. Women are not safe in and outside home. Major crimes against women in India are: the highest reported crime against women are by her husband and relatives. There are 9,09,713 cases reported in the last 10 years, that is 10 cases every hour. The second highest is assault of women with intent to outrage her modesty. There are 4,70,556 crimes reported in the last decade. There were 3,15,074 cases of kidnapping, 2,43,51 cases of rape, 1,04,151 cases of insult to modesty, and 80,833 dowry deaths. Even after having laws to protect and safeguard women, still the crime rates are very high. Let us look into some of these laws prevalent in India. Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005, Preconception of Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques Act 1994, Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013, and the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956. Initiatives addressing violence against women have not come solely from the government. There have been very successful grassroots efforts from non-government organizations, civil societies, activists. Even common man have been powerful to bring in change, like in the case of Nirbhaya gang rape in 2012. The large-scale protest forced the government to relook the existing laws against sexual assault against women. Amendments in the existing laws were made within 4 months of the crime. The new law called Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013 broadened the perspective of crime including acid attack, sexual harassment, voyeurism and stalking. There are changes in the judiciary and police system, but there is a need to change the mindset of the community against women. We need to sensitize the community, the judiciary, the police and the politicians to understand women issues and problems so as to reduce the violence against women. Moreover, the victims of violence need counseling and protection. The community, government and non-government all need to come together to support the victims. Child labour and child abuse. Children in India are in distress. Large number of children in India are neglected and exploited by their families, school, employers and community at large. Children suffer physical, emotional and sexual abuse. There are large numbers of cases of exploitation, kidnapping, trafficking, sexual assault and murder of our children. India has the largest number of child labour in the world. Even after 70 years of our freedom, even after progressing rapidly and becoming the 6th largest economy, we are not able to protect or free our children from child labour and child abuse. The government's responses is weak and erratic. Child labour and child abuse is blatantly visible everywhere in our community. The street children, rag pickers, beggars on the street, children working at homes, shops and factories are no one's concerns. Millions of children from poor families are compelled by economic reasons to join the labour force. Even the Right of Education 2005, which says compulsory education for all children below 14 years, has not been able to reach out to all the children of our country. There are large numbers of children who have not reached the gates of the school, and there are a large number of children who reach the school and drop out of school. The Census of India 2001 reported an increase in child labour from 11.28 million in 1991 to 12.59 million in 2001. About 4 lakh children, mostly girls in the age of 7 to 14 years, toil 14 to 16 hours a day in cotton seed production. 40% of the labour in precious stone cutting industries is children. The other industries that employ mostly children in India are zari, embroidery, carpet, bricklins, beadi rolling, fireworks, matches, leather, silk and hotels. Poverty is the main cause of child labour. Laws and the government have been able to do a little to control this problem in our country. Child abuse in India is underreported and a hidden phenomenon. Most of the abuse occurs in the home. Law is unable to protect children under abuse in India. The Indian Parliament passed the Protection of Children from Sexual Offence Act 2012 in 2000. The law has strong provisions but weak to implement. Ministry of Women and Child Development 2007 reported that 150 million girls and 73 million boys have been subjected to forced sexual intercourse or other forms of sexual violence. In 2002, there were 53,000 cases of child homicide. The role of counselling in community engagement to address child labour and child abuse. Community can help in protecting children from child labor and child abuse. Community can be the guardian of children by identifying children at risk and those being neglected, harassed, or exploited. Child labor can be stopped by not engaging children and reporting to police or Childline 1098. If cases of child labor or abuse are seen, children need counseling in difficult situations. Community can offer help and support to these children. Summary: social problems are complex. There are many interdependent factors causing and promoting these problems. Steps need to be taken at macro and micro level. Community engagement is a powerful tool to identify the problem and implement government laws and programs. Counseling will help as an effective method of community engagement. Counseling sessions with individual, family, and communities can help address the social problems. Thank you.